So you want to live in South Dakota where the winters are long, summers are short, but the people are awesome. And you know what else is awesome? First-time home buyer loan. Grab your cup of coffee, buckle up, because we have a lot to cover today. Hey, this is Jeremy with CU Mortgage Direct, bringing you from your closing table to the kitchen table. So first-time home buyer, what is it? What does it mean? What is SDHDA? Well, SDHDA stands for South Dakota Housing Development Authority. What they offer is low fixed rate interest rates and down payment assistance. You can't go wrong with down payment assistance and low interest rates. It's a win-win. There are some guidelines though. The guidelines are you cannot have a credit score below a 620. So you have to have that credit score up. The second thing is you cannot have owned a home in the last 3 years between you and your spouse. Now the good news is if you've owned a home before, but you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you could be eligible again for the first-time home buyer loan. The other item is a debt-to-income ratio. It has to be below 50%. When it comes to credit scores and debt-to-income ratio, look at my previous videos when I talk a little bit more about that. The last thing we look at is income guidelines, basically stating you can't make more than X amount of dollars in order to qualify for South Dakota Housing. Let's take a look at the South Dakota Housing income guidelines. Here are the income guidelines. First thing we want to notice though is there's a date on there. The date says May 31st, 2023. Well, today is March 13th, 2024. Every year, South Dakota Housing does change these income guidelines. If you would like to check on the most updated income guidelines, go to their website, which is sdhda.org, and look for this document. The first thing we want to look at is Minnehaha County. If you notice, Minnehaha County has the max you can make is $96,000 for 2 people or less. However, if you have dependents, say you have 3 people or more, the max family income is $110,400. If you make more than that, which is a great thing that you're making good money, there is another option called the Repeat Homebuyer Program. You'll notice that income is a little higher, and even if you've never owned a home before, you still could be considered a repeat home buyer. So let's look at that. That income is $111,120 for 2 people or less, or $129,640. Another thing that South Dakota Housing or the first-time home buyer loan offers is what's called an MCC tax credit. What's an MCC tax credit? Well, you can write off a portion of your mortgage interest and potentially get up to $2,000 more on your tax return, which is fantastic. Now, South Dakota Housing has the same 4 loans that I've talked about in previous loans: VA, FHA, conventional, and rural development. If you remember, VA and rural development have a 0% down payment, so you don't have to worry about it. However, conventional has a 3% down payment, and FHA has a 3.5% down payment. So you always have to worry about the down payment. Then there is also closing costs. Closing costs are the fees that I incur that I have to pass on to you in order to do the loan. Some of those fees could be an appraisal, 1 year of homeowner's insurance, survey, title work. Now, let's take a look at these interest rates to see how this down payment and closing cost assistance can help you. Here are today's interest rates. Today is March 13th, 2024, and you will notice these interest rates on South Dakota Housing are effective March 4th, 2024. I sincerely hope that rates are going to go down, and if you are looking at this a couple months down the road, that rates are a little better. First box all the way to the left is a 5.375% interest rate with a 1% discount point. A discount point. I'm not a big fan of discount points. The reason is that means you have to pay 1% of the total purchase price to get that lower interest rate. Again, I hope interest rates are going to be a little better to where we can refinance you. That way we don't have to pay as much closing costs. So let's look at the fixed rate. So today's interest rate for a fixed rate is at 5.625. Basically what South Dakota Housing is doing is if you already have your down payment and closing costs together, they give you a very low interest rate. However, if you do need assistance with your down payment, South Dakota Housing will give you 3% of your loan amount to go towards your down payment, and that interest rate's at 6.125. When I say give it to you, they will give it to you at closing. But eventually, you have to pay back that down payment assistance when you sell the house or refinance the house. There is no monthly payment to it, and it's a 0% interest rate. There's another program that South Dakota Housing offers. It's called a fixed rate plus 5%. South Dakota Housing will give you up to 5% of the loan amount to go towards your closing costs and down payment. You'll notice that interest rate is at 6.375. This first box is for all rural development, all VA, and all FHA loans. The second column over is that MCC tax credit I talked to you about and that repeat home buyer. You notice that the interest rates are a little different, but they do offer you the down payment assistance and that low interest rate if you are a repeat home buyer or an MCC tax credit. The third column over is just for conventional loans. All the way to the right is for conventional loans still, for the MCC tax credit and also for the repeat home buyer. Again, check out today's interest rates on sdhda.org and see if these rates are better. Woo! That was a lot of info. You've never bought a house before, so I know you're going to have a lot of questions. Please call me, call your lender, ask questions. If you want to call me, my phone number 275-1794, or email me. I really appreciate you watching my video, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in learning more about the home buying process, check out all of these videos that I have out here.